Please click on the subscribe button so you get notified when the latest content drops. Now, let's kick it.
Now, let's start off with one of my favorite teams of all time, Barcelona, extending Lamine Yamal's contract till 2031. It is reported that he has signed a deal that pays him about over 320 euros a week, which probably puts him around 40 million euros a year, which would make him the highest paid Barcelona player currently on the team, more than Lewandowski, who was recorded to be the number one highest paid player on Barcelona last year. With that being said, it is honestly a great time to be a Barca fan. Lamine Yamal truly seems like he is the second coming of Lionel Messi, mixed with a little bit of Neymar. He's got the dribbling skill set plus the finishing touch that he needs and the left foot like Messi. Oh my god. There's just so many comparisons, but he's doing it. He's doing it at a high level. He was number 19 for Barcelona, just like Messi was that 1 year before he took over the iconic number 10 jersey from Ronaldinho. And as soon as Ronaldinho left, which in this case, Ansu Fati, who is leaving to Monaco on a loan, I think with an option to buy. If not an option to buy, he's leaving on a loan and probably we've seen the last of Ansu Fati for Barcelona, unless he develops into a striker who can later replace Lewandowski at the striker position, because he's clearly not a winger and he's not the same player he was when he was thought to be the next second coming of Lionel Messi and he was handed the number 10 jersey. Injuries took a toll on him, and he just, aside from the injuries, the mental game, he got healthy, but he just didn't have the mental skill set to pursue what he once was when he first came out from La Masia. With that being said, Lamine Yamal is set to inherit the iconic number 10 jersey from Ansu Fati, who has left for Monaco on a loan. And next season, we're gonna see we're gonna see an 11-9-10 combo if Lewandowski still stays with Barcelona. And it's starting to feel just like the era of when we had Neymar, Suarez, and Messi, with the prime Iniesta, Xavi, Sergio Busquets, or with Iniesta, Rakitic, and Xavi. Was it Xavi? No, Iniesta, Rakitic, and Busquets, because Rakitic basically replaced Xavi. And I even think they played together that one season when he came. I forget if it was from Sevilla. I think it was Sevilla, where Rakitic originally played. But yeah, it's a great time to be a Barca fan. I'm excited to see what happens this upcoming season. Hopefully, and I believe Lamine Yamal has that demeanor. He's been a Messiah product from the academy from day one. He's been touched by Messi basically, and I think he's got the right head on his shoulders, where the money, where the fame, where everything is not going to get to him. Clearly, the last couple of years, they've talked about him as being the second coming of Lionel Messi. And from what we've seen, even with all the hype, even after he became a regular first team player, he has not let it get to his head and he's performed consistently. He's played over 100 games for Barcelona. And this past season, in 55 appearances, he had, I believe, 43 goal contributions, if I'm not mistaken, in all competitions. He's a Ballon d'Or candidate. And in my personal opinion, if it's not him, it's Rafinha. But one of these two stars, in my personal opinion, deserves to win it. My third option would obviously be Dembele, but Dembele didn't necessarily have a stellar season this year. He just basically came on the last 6 months, and last 5 to 6 months, where now PSG is in the final, but he's been playing lights out. With all due respect to Dembele, in my personal opinion, Lamine Yamal, the way he's carried the team, the way his presence on the field, the fact that he's just 19, no, not even 19, he's about to be 18 in July. I'm just a huge fan of the kid. And Rafinha, with all due respect to him, because he is a captain for Barcelona, the team goes with Rafinha, and this is by far his best season. I just think Lamine Yamal, with what we've seen and what we can see from him later on down the road, deserves this Ballon d'Oro, in my personal opinion. I'm excited to see what happens next year. Now, with that being said, let's transition into just Barcelona topics. on what they should realistically go for in the transfer market and what it's reported that they are actually going for in the window. And now, since the La Liga season has come to an end and the window should be opening here on June 16th, it has been reported that Barcelona is linked with a few moves away from the club and to the club. We've already seen Ansu Fati agree to a loan move that takes him to Monaco, basically leaving the number 10 jersey for Lamine Yamal to inherit. There's also been reports that Ronald Araujo will be on his way out. Same thing with Mark ter Stegen, which would mark the end of an era for me as a Barca fan because he was there with Lionel, with Suarez, with Neymar, with Rakitic, with Iniesta, with Xavi, with basically a lot of the greats that I watched growing up watching football. And once he leaves, that just closes that chapter and opens up a new chapter with basically the new wave with Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Dani Olmo, Pedri, Gavi, who's still on the bench, who I hope gets more run next year, Frankie de Jong, who's been phenomenal, Kubarsi, Balde, Conde. Like, they got a lot of young, talented guys on the roster that I think are gonna is the next iteration, right? With that being said, it's been reported that Hansi Flick wants a winger to help relieve the pressure off Rafinha and Lamine Yamal for the upcoming season. And basically the player they've been linked with is Luis Diaz from Liverpool, who had a tremendous season for Liverpool after they won the Premier League and everything. But my issue with Luis Diaz is, doesn't Luis Diaz want to play? And realistically, are we going to do it at the expense of Rafinha and Lamine Yamal, who we just signed to a massive contract extension? Now, with that being said, Lamine Yamal with this new contract, it's not going to be at his expense. Is he going to be at the expense of Rafinha in the position that he plays, where we now move him in, or Lewandowski, who's 37 years old and has seen better days? Are we going to try to make Luis Diaz a striker, a false nine striker, which I don't think he necessarily fits in well at that position? It's just a lot of questions for me. If we move Rafinha, because I know they've discussed moving Rafinha from the left wing position to the 10 position as right behind Lewandowski, but that would mean it would be at the cost of who, Dani Olmo, Pedri, or Frankie de Jong. Even though I thought Frankie de Jong should have been sold a long time ago, Frankie de Jong under Hansi Flick has revived his career, has looked phenomenal. And even though Gavi isn't getting a lot of first team runway, I think Gavi still has a lot of potential to grow and develop. With that being said, after Rafinha had the season of his life, the best season of his career to date, in my personal opinion, why would we move him from that left wing position where he has clearly excelled because he is a talented and skilled winger, to a position where I just don't think he would find nearly the same success, in my honest opinion. If there is a player from Liverpool we should be interested in, it is, in my personal opinion, Darwin Núñez, who, since he's joined Liverpool from Benfica, has struggled to maintain form, has not been the Darwin Núñez that was advertised. I think he had his best season of his career the last year he was at Benfica. Then his first year at Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, he didn't have a bad season. He had a good season. By all intents and purposes, it wasn't the best, but with Jurgen Klopp, he gave him the opportunity to adjust, to learn the game, to develop. And in his first year, on 42 appearances, he scored 15 goals, had 4 assists. In 42 appearances as a striker, he contributed to 19 goals and assists. Not the best season for a striker, but also not the worst season. There's been others that have had much, much worse. His second year with Jurgen Klopp, he had a better second season, where he scored in 54 appearances, 18 goals, and assisted 15 times, which, again, for a striker, 33 goal contributions, whether it be goals or assists in 55 appearances or 54 appearances, he did a phenomenal job. Now, this year under Arne Slot, it is clear that he is not his number one striker of choice. And with the recent success, in my personal opinion, that Anthony has found at Real Betis, leaving Manchester United, not having that physical style of play that the Premier League necessarily has, Anthony has managed, in my personal opinion, to revive his career with Real Betis. Not saying that Barcelona should go after Anthony, but what I see there is Darwin Nunez, because of the level of physicality the Premier League has, even though his second season was better than his first. And this year, he's clearly taken a step back because Arne Slot just doesn't have the confidence in him. I think would be a phenomenal replacement for Luis Suarez, who's going to be 37 next year, and could come in off the bench because he's also played the right and left wing positions as well as a center forward and striker. And in my personal opinion, the tiki taka style, where basically you have wingers that can actually support him. I know he has Mo Salah. He's had Sadio Mane in the past. I know Darwin Nunez has had every opportunity in the world to succeed with Liverpool, but I just think the physicality of the Premier League just doesn't suit his style of play. Where if he were to join Barcelona rather than go to the Saudi Pro League, he's not as expensive as he once was when I think he joined Liverpool, and he can still has a shit ton of room to grow. We would have Ferran Torres, who is an excellent player when he's healthy, who has this year taken a step up in his game after leaving Man City, having a great career with Man City, but hasn't necessarily found the same success with Barcelona, where Lewandowski has been that guy consistently over years, even though Xavi didn't necessarily want him. Towards the end, Hansi Flick has gotten the most out of him. But next year, being 37 years old, if we have Lewandowski, or if we sell Lewandowski, we still have Ferran Torres. We would have a Darwin Nunez who could play the winger positions similar to Ferran Torres and still play that striker role because he's just accustomed to it. He's played basically his entire career as a striker. And then another player that I think they should also keep an eye on, in my personal opinion, is Atletico Madrid's Julian Alvarez, who this past year had a great season by all intents and purposes, and I think would fit in well on that Barcelona side as a replacement for Robert Lewandowski, who is getting older. But that's, in my personal opinion, the one area where we need to improve. Same with our center backs and our goalkeeper. It's also been linked that Emiliano Martinez might be searching for a new club. I know Unai Emery has said that Emiliano Martinez was not leaving the club, but from all intents and purposes, it looks like he's already said goodbye to everybody. He already did his goodbye at the Aston Villa Club Park, and he's looking for a new chapter where he can win titles. I know Emiliano Martinez is old. Like I think he's 30, 31 years old, but Barcelona, we need a goalkeeper, and by all intents and purposes, Emiliano Martinez is a world class goalkeeper, World Cup winner. He's called the Dibu because he knows how to get into players' head, and I think he would be a phenomenal improvement in for Barcelona as a goalkeeper, especially if we're going to be playing that high back line. I think Emiliano Martinez could be a drastic improvement over Szczesny, who is, in my personal opinion, closer to being retired than he is in his prime, even though he did have stellar performances for Barcelona this past year. Inaki Peña, I don't know if he'll ever develop into being that number one goalkeeper for us, but I just think Emiliano Martinez would be the ideal fit. I think Julian Alvarez would be the ideal fit as a replacement striker, as a replacement number one option striker for Lewandowski. But if we're intending to keep Lewandowski, a player like Darwin Nunez, who I think we could bring off the bench, who can play the winger positions, who can also come straight down the middle as a striker, would be a great backup and replacement for Robert Lewandowski, and a great substitute for Lamine Yamal and Rafinha, more than Luis Diaz, who I think would want to start at this point. And Darwin Nunez, he could develop and earn that starting role with Barcelona. I think he's only 25 years old, so he's still got time, a little bit of time to develop, and I think Spanish football would benefit him drastically. With that being said, thank you, Ronald Araujo. Thank you, Mark Ter Stegen. I don't know if this is the end of you guys, but if it is, I appreciate your years of services to Barcelona, because you guys have been with us through the darkest of times, and now we are seeing the light of day. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Also, let's not forget Marcus Rashford is linked with the move to Barcelona, who I also think for what Hansi Flick is looking for, Marcus Rashford would actually be a good fit. He can play as he can be a substitute for Lewandowski as a striker, that number 9 position, and then he can play in the wings for substituting in for Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. He's 27 years old. He has upside. He could start if Lewandowski's production takes a dip next year. However, in my personal opinion, if Barcelona can somehow be linked with the move for Darwin Nunez, I think Darwin has a much bigger upside than Marcus Rashford, who is 27 years old. There is a 2-year difference, but in the long run, I think Darwin has a much bigger upside than Marcus. But Marcus has proven to have had his seasons when he was 24, 25 years old for Manchester United. In the last couple of seasons, he's just taken a bit of a nosedive, but because of injuries. But I think Marcus Rashford or a Darwin Nunez would make much more sense than a Luis Diaz for Barcelona at this point. Now, with that being said, guys, we'll be right back after these messages.
Guys, have you heard? Nelson, tell the people.
Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max. Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons.
Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.